the role of fish meal and fish oil in a growing aquaculture industry. This is one of the most viewed graphics in the seafood industry. The aquaculture industry taking off in the 1970s, and as most people in these industries know, over time aquaculture volumes have grown to a level where the tonnage looks pretty similar to the capture fisheries. And this has put a strain on some of the carnivorous types of species that eat fish meal and fish oil as part of their diet. As the R&I manager at Leroy Seafood said, these are coming from fully explored or overexploited fish stocks. And Dominique, who's on this call, showed me a presentation yesterday, and obviously replacing these ingredients requires other animal ingredients or high-end additives, and replacing these ingredients is not that easy. Scarcity has driven prices up, and prices are quite volatile because of sporadic events. So we've seen El Nino, which affects about a third of world supply that comes from Chile and Peru, really driving prices, and especially over the last few years, we've seen production decline, but especially during this a lengthy El Nino. So South America accounts for about a third of world production. The coastline here in Chile, where I'm speaking from, does quite a bit, and Peru has the main resource in the Pacific Ocean. And more than 80% of the Peruvian resource goes to China. I'll be very keen to ask Luis about this experience working at TASA. A lot of China also imports fish meal from many other parts of the world, and really is the dominant buyer. So half of global fish meal supply is certified by Marine Trust. So it's actually a sustainable resource, at least in terms of 50% of world supply. And unfortunately, the other half, the non-certified supply, it does give aquaculture a bad reputation. And I'd love to talk more to, I'm definitely going to ask Kevin Fitzsimmons about this. But there are things happening. Mauritania, one of the main producers from West Africa, recently began an FIP, and that's encouraging. And also that there are demands now coming from the retail side to improve this aspect of the industry. So, for example, the ASC, the Aquaculture Stewardship Council, will start to certify feed from this year, actually, and it will become an integral part of its farm certification as of 2022. So what we've seen over time is the inclusion rates into salmon, for example, have really dropped to about as low as they can go. We've seen, for example, fish oil inclusion drop to about 10%. This obviously raises the question of how much of a role this plays in fish health, and if it's making a difference with mortality rates. And also, of course, the other aspect of this is the omega-3 claim that is often promoted to consumers. So the alternatives are coming. There's several initiatives. But there's also, and this is something I'll ask Enrico about, but there's also trimmings, krill, and there are more marine ingredients that could actually form part of a sustainable volume. So if we talk about the novel ingredients, and today's webinar, I really want to talk more about the actual fish meal and fish oil industry. But of course, the alternatives are an essential part of this conversation. We've seen quite a big uptake in algae oil, particularly in Norway. There are companies developing these ingredients that are really quite advanced. They're often multinational companies, but we're also seeing the startup world, especially in insects, get really attracts venture capital, and this is one of the really interesting new sources of supply that could develop in the next few years. So this is a topic I really want to get into today. We've seen in the previous century, fish meal and fish oil were really commodities, and the strategic the strategy of any commodity producer, of course, is to be the lowest cost producer. But I think now, as the supplies are strained, people are now looking at these industries more as a strategic ingredient, and producers are now asking questions: who are our customers, and what are they buying? And I think this is part of this transition to a new market. So thank you very much, and I don't want to speak anymore, and I'd like to get into the questions.